Alright, hello everyone. I was messing around with a new skill for Prophecy, Lacerate, and I was sort of taking that character I made during the previous league, um, and respect him a little bit. Basically, I have a video on this guy as a Cyclone COC dude, and I switched out Cyclone for Lacerate, and then Poison for multi-strike. And then I changed the skill tree a little bit to, this one's important, Dirty Techniques and Chance to Bleed. He's Assassin, so he gets 30% chance to cause bleeding on hit with attacks, and then another 8%, and then 40% chance to poison on hit against bleeding enemies. And then he has 10% chance to poison on hit here. There are some uniques you can pick up that sort of go well with that, but really not that great. Really the main thing is going to be the new chest piece, the cursed chest piece, because it makes all your attacks poison as well. But I haven't seen one yet. It's probably going to be pretty expensive. This one increases the chance to cause bleeding by a lot, which would help, but it only has melee critical strikes have a 25% chance to poison the enemy, which affects Lacerate, but really the damage is coming from Blade Fall, Blade Vortex, and Ethereal Knife, so all the physical spells. So this one doesn't help too much. And then the other option would be the Consuming Dark. This one's a pseudo legacy. It's now 30%, but the legacy ones are 45% now. So that's interesting. But with this, chaos damage would poison enemies, and then you have stuff like Etziri's Promise, giving you 25% of physical damage as extra chaos damage. You also have this one, which has Poisonous Hit, which I think only affects the attacks again, but it would convert some physical to chaos, which is again really good for all those spells. However, since Lacerate requires a sword or an axe, you can't use the Fright Claw here, Mortem Morsu, and one of the daggers. Like, you can't dual wield Consuming Dark in that claw to get both of them. So I ended up, just because I was losing so much energy shield for dual wielding, I switched to this then, because that gives me more energy shield. Could as well just still use a shield. You don't really have to dual wield. It doesn't really add much to it. So I guess I'm gonna switch those out real quick. It looks a bit cooler if you're dual wielding, just because the animation looks cool, but you know, whatever. So let's actually show what this does. So why am I making this video? Basically, Cyclone hits an AoE, but it hits everything at once, whereas this seems to have like a progressive sort of hit detection. So every time you shoot down a wave, it can trigger multiple times, making this actually slightly better than Cyclone. And you can see, like, as soon as I get my power charges up, which takes a bit longer with Cyclone, it just triggers like crazy. So that is really good, because I was, for the longest time, I was just like, if you go COC, kind of gotta use Cyclone. Cyclone still has the advantage of allowing you to move while you're doing all this, of course. And it scales really well with both movement speed and attack speed. Whereas this one, Lacerate, has like a 30% less attack speed, but it triggers twice, and then if you do a multi-strike, it actually triggers 6 times per click. So an individual click is just so much. And now, since the Assassin has chance to cause bleeding and then chance to call as poison on bleeding, and then chance to maim poison, and then increased duration for if you've maimed recently. It makes your Val skills really good because they last a lot longer. And I'm built for skill effect duration on the tree because I have Blade Vortex in here, and you can see, like, this is not a Blade Vortex build. Blade Vortex is just in there because it's physical, but compared to the previous version, it was possible to get up to like 20 stacks. I've already hit 38. You can see I just hit all haste and it's 18 seconds. So the extra damage over time wheel I added to this has some skill effect duration in it. And then you get 30% if you've killed a maimed enemy recently. So this has a lot of skill effect duration, so anything that scales with that is really good. I have a Immortal Call, caster and damage taken. And you see 26 Blade Vortex stacks. Let's see if I can find a really big group. Let's accumulate some of them. Run around for a little bit. Alright, that should be good enough. Let's get them bunched up. That was only 12. But it does keep going up. 24. So basically, this has quite a bit of range. It would be kind of cool to get a conk effect on that. It doesn't work on all the spells, I don't think. It would work on... It wouldn't work on Ethereal Knives, but it would work on Blade Vortex and Blade Fall. But you'd also lose some range. That being said, though, in this build, since I'm scaling with all the like physical damage nodes in Shadow and a lot of crit, Lacerate itself, it's kind of low level right now, but it, you know, it gets a little bit of extra damage, and it does have an increased area of effect radius, and then it gets less attack speed, but it's actually still kind of a speed increase because, you know, you shoot 2 of them. So instead of like doubling your speed, it's just 70% faster, I guess. I have like, it's amazing, like the single target damage is really good too. But as long as you keep moving fast enough, which is a bit of a downside, a bunch of rampage builds have that problem too, is you kind of have to keep moving to not lose the effect of your Blade Vortex. But I can totally, I mean, this is Dried Lake, the density is really good here, so I'm not gonna have that many Blade Vortex stacks up at all times. Like when doing maps. Yeah, I should check. I still have 5.5k energy shield. This used to be 7k, so definitely took a hit there. Mainly because I made this really expensive, like, evasion energy shield mixture with 6 green links, but now I need 1 red, and I don't want to re-roll it just for, this is just for testing anyway, right? So I'll put on that tabula. But it, you know, it's fine for Grind Lake testing. I mean, just look at it. Single target, it's good enough. Sometimes it looks a bit boring. Groups, it's absolutely amazing. This is kind of like Kinetic Blast and the way it works. Not quite, but closer to that than Cyclone. But it doesn't have, you don't need to bounce your projectile off of walls to get more hits. And it's certainly not as bad. Like, single target is more like Barrage. It's kind of an in-between of Kinetic Blast and Barrage. Ooh, got stunned right there. That is the biggest downside compared to Cyclone, is Cyclone makes you stun immune. Which is why I haven't... Normally I like to use like an Alpha's Howl, but this uses no auras. Well, it uses Discipline and Warlord's Mark. But I'm not built for being able to stack extra auras on this character. Oh man, this is so much fun. I'm just, you know, I'm rambling here. I'm really happy that there's another alternative for cast on crit now, because this is totally viable. I'm not sure but this could be the best one, because it seems to have the benefits of Barrage and Kinetic Blast, kind of, without too many of the downsides. And the range is pretty good too. Only problem is I click once and you see like he attacks many times, and should probably build for a little bit of, or actually quite a bit of attack speed, because right now like I'm running a Silver Flask, I'm running Val Haste, and I still feel like it could be a bit faster. I don't have him up most of the time though. Alright, now I want to find Vol. Let's see how like the single target boss killing works out. This guy's level 92 by the way. So definitely overkill for Dried Lake here. But this is, like I said, I took an old character from the previous league and just, you know, just experimenting here. So this isn't built specifically for this. Just adjust it slightly. But I'm pretty sure, like, this feels like this is totally a viable way of using a skill. I mean, you basically get Pierce for free. Alright, here's Vol. Let's see what happens. Oh, that was pretty fast. One thing I don't like too much is that I lose the poison support. I used to have poison in here, now it's multi-strike, so I have to find these other ways of getting the chance to poison up. But once you get Toxic Delivery, now that we can have 8 Ascendancy points, 20% of physical damage gained as extra chaos damage against bleeding enemies is going to be nice. It's just a straight up 20% damage increase, because, you know, there's the chance to cause bleeding is 38%, so like within 3 of the slashes, everything in front of you is gonna bleed, so that's when you get 20% increased damage. 10% reduced damage taken from damage over time is nice, of course, because it's hard to get a reduction for that. And then poison you inflict with critical strike deals 100% more damage. Bleeding you inflict on maimed enemies deals 100% more damage. The second one doesn't really help all that much, because the bleed is just Lacerate itself. which still scales with the same base type that I'm scaling for here, which is mainly like physical. Like all of these are just pure physical damage nodes, not like physical attack damage or physical melee damage. But they still apply to the spells and Lacerate itself. So Lacerate itself deals a fair amount, but bleeding doesn't stack. So the 100% more damage is not gonna do that much. It's still nice to have, but poison dealing 100% more damage. All my damage gets converted to poison because it's all physical. And then reflect is not too much of an issue because there's a little bit of chaos conversion from Etzire's Promise. There's a little bit of chaos conversion from the Ascendancy node there. And I have cast when damage taken. Oh, that's, yeah, Immortal Call. So since I have Warlord's Mark for Leech, I do generate my endurance charges, and cast when damage taken is leveled up as well as Immortal Call. So this one has a base duration of 0.4 seconds and 154% increased buff duration per endurance charge. I have 3, so the duration is like, what is that, 450%? Because the cast when damage taken is high level. It takes quite a bit of damage for it to trigger. It takes like over 3,000. So by the time it does trigger, it's very likely to have 3 endurance charges up. But then the base duration is 4 seconds, basically times 5. So we're looking at like 3 seconds, and then I have, let's see, we've got all of these for skill effect duration, all of these for skill effect duration, and then we get 10% here. Another level, I'm gonna get this one for another 10%, and then from here we get another 30% increased skill effect duration if you've killed a main enemy recently. So basically, if I hit a reflect mob, it will trigger my Immortal Call really fast, and then I'm just invulnerable to my own reflect for at least 3 seconds, which is quite a bit of time. And then if I don't kill it within that time, it will still trigger pretty fast. It won't, chances are I might not have power charges, but even then, if it does trigger again at 0.4 seconds with all the skill effect duration, that's still almost a second. It's probably pretty much exactly a second. So reflect has never really been an issue. It could be a bit problematic in a full-on reflect, like a physical reflect map. It kind of depends. In the Cyclone version I had issues with that still. Just because Immortal Call is not up most of the time. It's set up so that it kicks in when it gets needed momentarily and is really useful at that moment. And you know, individual reflect mobs, I really don't really notice that they're there. But yeah, so if you like COC, there's a new option for you. Pretty cool. Take care, guys.